Hi everyone. Last week we made an airplane that looked like this. It was a little bit shorter. And we also had a straw and tube paper airplane. I wanted to make a couple of different ones this week. Something traditional, like you may have seen before, and something a little untraditional you might not have seen before. And I'll show you step by step how to make them, and then you can make any changes you want to the airplanes to make it go faster, fly better, like that. Let's see how they look. This is from last week. More traditional. And something a little different. The trick is with this one to spin it and throw it at the same time. That was better. Now, let's see how to make them. Now we're gonna start a little more traditional. I'm gonna start with my yellow paper. And I'm gonna see if I can angle this down just a little bit more and bring it over without dropping the iPad. That would be great. So when I make my paper airplanes, I sometimes like to use a marker to trace along the folds, and I'm gonna do that here just so it stands out a little more. So I'm gonna take my yellow paper first, and I'm gonna fold it in half, hot dog style. Doing my best to get it as close to the edges as possible. So when I open it up, it looks like that. I'm gonna use my marker just to trace along my fold so it stands out. Now the next step is to take one of the corners and fold it towards the middle. You're making like a long triangle, and it has to be from the top until it reaches about a third of the way here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And this is the more traditional paper airplane approach. A little bit different than what we did last week. So I noticed as I folded it here, it doesn't perfectly line up. That's okay. So when I push them together, there's a little bit of a gap, not a big deal. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it again, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper onto my line. And I'm pushing all the way down like that. I'm going to do the same thing to the opposite side. I want to make sure that my point or my tip is as sharp as possible. We don't want it to be blunt or rounded. And I'm just rubbing on the creases here so that they're nice and sharp. So looking at it so far, obviously this part here isn't the same length, and that'll still be okay. I'm going a little bit slower, that way if you're doing it at home, you have plenty of time. Now the next way I like to do it is I'm just gonna fold it again, just like I did before, paying special attention to that front part so it's nice and sharp. I don't want to overlap it. I'm lining it up with my crease and the line that I made with my fold there, nice and sharp. And I'll do the same thing to the top piece that I did to the bottom. And I'm paying special attention to that front tip so that it is as pointy as possible. Okay, we're almost there. The next step is I'm looking and seeing that line that I drew before. That's where I'm going to fold it in half. And when I say fold it in half, this is the smooth side, there's the folded side. I'm going to fold it in half this way. And I'm going to do my best to line up the folds. And also double checking and making sure that my front tip is nice and pointy. And I pick it up. I've got my airplane and now I'm ready for my first test flight. Okay, I'm gonna try and see if I can get this to the half court of the basketball court. I'm gonna stand right where those pads are. And my goal is to get it halfway through. So I started right where those pads were, and we're gonna follow it all the way over there. It did slide a little bit on the ground, and unfortunately I don't have a remote control tripod that could follow it as it went, but it definitely went over half the court this way. All right, for our next paper airplane, it's going to be this tube-like paper airplane. The flaps on the end are optional, but I definitely think it makes it look cooler, and I think it also makes it a little more stable. So let's get started. So I'm just gonna take a regular sheet of paper, it's the 8.5 by 11, and what I'm gonna do first is just fold it in half, long ways, or hot dog style, if you will. And do a nice, crisp fold. I'm gonna open it back up. And again, I just like highlighting the folds. This is not something you have to do, but that way we can see the middle where that fold is there. So the next thing I'm gonna do is fold all the way to that first fold. So I'm just taking my paper like this, I'm folding it right to about there, and the line does help me see it a little bit better. And I'm gonna fold it real crisp on that side, smoothing it out. So all I did was fold it in half, first one way, then I folded it to that first fold again. For our next step, I'm gonna fold it another time to that same fold as before. So I'm just taking this and I'm folding it to where that line I drew about was. And that's why having it in marker as a guide makes it a little easier to see. Smooth it out. So I've only basically folded one side. I started folding it in half, then I folded it to there, and then I folded it in here. I'm gonna fold it one more time, but this is my original fold. I'm gonna go up like that and smooth it out. Almost looks like a box or a long envelope. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it over so that I have my smooth side like this. And I'm gonna try and adjust the camera a little bit. I'm gonna take it and I'm going to roll it across the edge of my table so it has a little bit of a curve in it. You can see the curve like that. I'm gonna do it a couple more times because the more rounded it is, the better tube it'll make. Now, all I have to do is take it by the ends, and I'm going to take one fold and put it behind this fold here. So I'm just taking it and sticking it right inside that fold so it's starting to resemble a circle. And I'm going to try and tuck that in as much as I can. It's getting a little tighter in there, and that's fine. And now I'm going to shape my circle, and I'm going to get tape next to tape the sides of it. So I have my tape right here. Got a smallish piece. I'm going to tape this top part first. Fold it inside and smooth it out the best I can. Then I'm going to come down to where the bottom piece is and tape it down also. Now I'm a little bit off right here, but I think that'll be okay. If you want, you could trim it off, but right now, I think I'm okay with it. I could try it later and see if it improves anything. And I'm gonna keep rounding my circle, pushing out any of the bumps. Now, this last step is optional. I think I'm gonna make another one after this and just see what I like better. But I'm gonna cut 4 flaps spread out all around it. I think it makes it look definitely more fun, and I think it also stabilizes it as it spins, because the motion in this is almost as important as making the paper airplane. There's a special 2-step motion you need for it. So I'm gonna cut 4 slits on opposite sides. I'm not gonna measure, I'm just gonna basically eye it up. So when I make my slit, it's about this big. Now I'm gonna do one right on the opposite side of it, so I'm just eyeing it up. It's right here. I'll come down, put my other slit right there. So they're roughly on the opposite side of one another. I'm gonna turn it. I'm gonna put a slit right there and right here, the same size. Got my 4 flaps here. Now when you fold them, the key is that they all have to be folded the same way. So I'm going to fold it this first. So I'm going to do it the same way after it. Now looking at it here, I'm going to fold them up a little bit. It looks like I have a bigger gap in the middle, but we'll see if it matters or not. The key is to making sure that they're all folded the same way. So I have a flat piece here, and then a fold, flat piece, and then a fold, flat piece, and then a fold, so on and so forth. And I'm going to just keep them slightly bent. And now it looks like we're ready to fly it. I also have one that I made the exact same way, but I did not cut any little flaps in it. So we're going to compare. We have flaps in these two, no flaps in this one, and we'll see which one of these tube airplanes fly the best. I'm going to start with the two that I made that have the flaps on them, and then I'm going to do the one with no flaps, and we'll see what flies better. Again, to throw them, it's a twisting motion and a throwing. So I have to throw and twist. And I could try and throw and twist that way, or you could try and throw and twist underhanded. It's all on what you feel more comfortable with and what you practice with to do it. So it's a twisting motion and a throwing motion. So I got to twist and throw. So hopefully I can get that together. I definitely like the flaps. Better. I definitely seem to like the ones that had the folds and the flaps on them. It seemed to go a little further. I'm still working on my technique to like twist it around as I throw it. I think that would help a little bit better. What I want to try and do now is I see a fan over there. I want to see if I can add a little more wind, if it'll make it go even further. Let's check it out. I thought the tube airplane that had the tabs on it still flew better. When I added the large fan in the gym to it, I think it definitely helped. But if you notice and look back, I didn't stand right beside the fan. I went up a little bit. I thought that too much of that wind would kind of be too much for the airplane that would kind of lose control. So I went a little bit ahead of it. I could still feel some of the wind behind me, and when I threw it, especially the old school original version went pretty far, and one of them even kind of corkscrewed. And you can see its nose dives have taken a toll on it, so it's not as sharp or as pointy, but we can fix that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Happy building.